Week 11 is here, and you have to stay active in your waiver wire if you want to make it to the fantasy playoffs and if you want to do well in them. And you need White Vic on your team. Yes, I said it. White Vic. Let's talk about it. You are now listening to the Rival Fantasy Sports Podcast. Let's go. You're looking to make ads, you either have injuries, you have bye weeks, or you're just preparing your roster for the fantasy playoffs, which you should be doing right now. You should not be waiting as the season gets older and older and older and further deeper into the playoffs, into the season that you need to prepare for. You need to prepare for it now. Use your space on your depth on your bench to fill out your roster now. Keep circulating these players. Keep looking for the hot player. Keep looking at the playoff schedules. Find out where you need to, mess with this roster, where you need to improve upon this roster. And it's not just injuries and bye weeks. All right. So let's start with the quarterbacks. White Vic, who I talked about in the intro. Saquon Barkley calls on White Vic, and it's for good reason. Daniel Jones is the best free agent quarterback right now that you need to pick up if he's available in your leagues. He calls on White Vic. Obviously, we talk about it every week on here, basically. Daniel Jones has gotten this running game thing going. And when he has that, it makes it so that you have this higher floor for Daniel Jones. And we know we love quarterbacks who run the ball. It just makes things a little safer for you. It gives you another outlet for fantasy points. The thing with this week is, in particular, that Daniel Jones is playing the Lions. So he can actually get things done through the air in this game. Again, him running the ball this season has really helped in the fantasy point category. So this week you want Daniel Jones. Look at the future schedule, see where else he may fit in for you. If you don't have a player on bye or you don't have a player injured, he may still be worth putting on your roster. So look at that. Make sure you got those bases covered with your quarterbacks. If you're in a league that you only start one quarterback and you have a really good one, obviously you don't need to consider this necessarily. But again, it's worth a look at. He is your number one guy at quarterback. I'm in a league where Russell Wilson is available at quarterback. Now, he's played bad this season. He's been really, really bad for the Broncos. The Broncos in general have not played well, but that's besides the point. What I'm talking about for Russell Wilson is not for your fantasy playoffs. It's not for the rest of the season. Is for this week in particular. While Russell Wilson has played bad, one game he had 26 points for you. Well, not for you because he's on the waivers, but he had 26 points, and that was against the Raiders earlier in the season. And guess who Russell Wilson's playing this week? You guessed it, the Raiders. So there's no reason for you to not trust Russell Wilson this week. The Raiders make every quarterback look good. They give every quarterback their best game of the season. And so here you are now. If you need a quarterback in a bad situation, bye weeks, injuries, whatever the case is, or again, if you have a quarterback who doesn't have the greatest matchup, you don't feel super confident about it because maybe he's been a little inconsistent at times, Russell Wilson's a perfect fit right now. Playing the Raiders, it's about as money in the bank as you could basically get at this point for any quarterback. So Russell Wilson, a safe play this week. And then one other guy that I do want to throw in here as an honorable mention is Marcus Mariota. If he's available in your league, he's a decent pickup. The running game, again, here gives you that safe floor. We love quarterbacks who can run the ball. What can I say? I love those guys. Those guys I want on my team. So Marcus Mariota has helped himself be really, much higher in the QB rankings than many would have projected before the season started because of that running upside. The passing game isn't very good. It's not great. Not too bad, but nothing special, nothing great. So in this case, it's all about the running game. And while maybe you don't like certain matchups that he has, there are opportunities here for you to plug a Marcus Mariota into the lineup and get by. All right, let's move over to the running backs. Rachaad White is the best running back if he's available in your league. If Rachaad White is available in your league, you need to pick him up right now. Even if you don't need a running back is the one position where I'm totally good with you using one in your roster just to have in case of injuries, because running backs get hurt so much, because that position is so volatile with injuries and whatever happens to running backs these days at this point. They get overworked late into the season. The injuries start to pile up. And there's just a running back rotation as teams get closer and closer to the playoffs. They start to, try to wear teams down with this. And so Rachaad White is a great option and a great case for that because Fournette is a little beat up. Fournette's the starter here. It's who they've trusted, to carry this backfield as a veteran for Tom Brady. But Rachaad White got a lot of work last week when Fournette got hurt also. That helps a little bit. But the thing is here, they're on a bye. So if he's available in your league, don't play this thing where you get too cute and you're like, you know what? He's not playing this week. Nobody's going to pick him up. I'll just wait till next week. No. Rachaad White is not someone you wait on. This is your sneaky time to pick him up. Pick him up if your league mates are sleeping on him. Again, this is if he's available. But if you're questioning it and he is available, just pick him up. Other guys that may be available in your league that are worth looking at are Pacheco. This is crazy. Pacheco, McKinnon. These guys are both on the same team. They both have their interests and reasons why I say to add them. For Isaiah, it's more of he got a ton of workload last week. Clyde Edwards-Helaire is basically being put on the back burner. He's the third running back in this offense at this point. So Pacheco's safe. He's got a lot of workload last week. If that workload continues, which I expect it will, he's safe. I know he hasn't scored a lot. I know even with all that workload, it wasn't a lot of points. He had a fumble, but still, I trust him. But on the flip side, I like McKinnon as well. I've loved McKinnon for the longest. If you guys have been following me anywhere on Twitter or any other podcasts or leagues with me, McKinnon's a guy I've always loved. He's also a safe ad. I like him a lot more in PPR, though. Obviously, he gets more of the passing work. So in this offense, he could get 5 receptions, 50 yards. You're already at 10 points right there. If you get a touchdown, now you're looking at 16 points. So he's a great asset to have. I believe, and if you're thinking right now, like, well, which one do I add? I believe both of these guys coexist together just fine as long as the Chiefs don't turn around and give CAH some more workload. Then they're fine. These guys can work together. This offense has plenty of room for that. I would love to see Isaiah get some touchdowns, which would be great. But other than that, both these guys are definitely worth having on your roster. And, you can guess which one's going to go off each week if you want, but I'm more in favor of both of these guys could get double-digit points at the same time. McKinnon, again, is more of a PPR thing, though. I'm not really crazy about him in standard. In case you're screaming at the screen right now, Neil, what about Jaylen Warren? What about the Steelers and Jaylen Warren? Like, isn't it supposed to happen? I'm not buying the whole Jaylen Warren going to be a thing in Pittsburgh. I'm not with it. Harris had his most rushing attempts, most rushing yards last week. He also had his highest rushing average last week. So while Warren's worth a stash, he's not worth the start. I'm not crazy about anybody in the Steelers offense just in general at this point, but I'm not going to sit here and pretend that I think Warren is going to, take over Harris's job. Harris has struggled. It's not all his fault. This team is just not really good. They're not a major threat. It makes running the ball even harder when you're in that kind of situation. So I'm not the guy that's going to tell you to go pick up Warren in terms of go pick him up, start him. He's about to steal the job. Da, 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 da. I do think you're worth picking him up, but it's a stash, not a start. Let's move over to wide receivers. Kadarius Toney. I told you after he was traded that you need Kadarius Toney on your team. I didn't care about his struggles with the Giants. I didn't care about what anything else had happened prior to this moment. I made my feelings on Toney very clear right after that trade. Right after that trade, I made it very clear how I felt. At this point, if you didn't listen, if you just been letting Toney, not be added to your team, not starting him, not flexing him, I told you, in this offense, Toney has the perfect skill set for Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes to utilize. It doesn't have to be 15 targets, 10 targets. It doesn't have to be that. Even though he may get that sometimes, it doesn't have to be that. He has the skill set where he can get screen passes, he can get, little under routes, and he can take them all the way to the house. You only really need sometimes one play from Toney, and he's going to make the fancy points for the day that you want. That's how good he is. That's how talented he is, and that's how skilled he could be in this offense. So if you didn't do it, now you're seeing, like last week, you're seeing exactly what I was talking about. Hopefully it's not too late in your league to scoop him up. It's possible. It's possible if there was this, there's stink on a player like Toney where people were like, listen, man, I've heard this all before. I bit for it all before. I had him on my team. I let him sit on my roster, waste up space. And so people may be sour on him. And in that case, if he's still available in your league, take advantage of it. You should have acted first. But and this is the big thing for me. A lot of times when it comes to waivers, and I mention this all the time, you want to act first. You want to be the guy who gets the player before the big game. You really put yourself in a bad spot when you don't act first and you wait till after the big game and then you're reacting instead of acting just initially, right? So instead of taking that risk and getting a player before it happens, now you're trying to fight for him after it happened. And you just put you in a bad spot. Either he's gone by the time you want him, or you're now bidding a whole bunch versus everybody else, or you're hoping your waiver priority is enough. And why do all that? Act first, don't react. So Toney should be on your team already. If he's not and he's available, just pause this video and go pick him up now. Like, what are you doing? Or pick up your phone while I'm talking. I'll give you a second. Pick him up. and we'll move on. I am recording this post Thursday Night Football. So if you didn't already have Trayvon Burks or Christian Watson on your team, then I'm sorry, because they're either not available at this point or you're about to throw down with the rest of your league mates for them, similar to the Tony situation. But both these guys have gone off. Both these guys had expected to go off in terms of this season, have really good rookie campaigns. So if they were available in your league, it's just because everybody was kind of sleeping on him. Trayvon Burks was hurt. So he may have been added in the beginning and drafted, but then released once he got hurt. You guys, whoever the team owner was like, at this point, I don't want to wait on this rookie. Christian Watson, similar situation. He didn't pop off right away, had some injuries, things going on. Dobbs and other guys like that started taking off at first. But Christian Watson is a blazer. You want him on your team. Burks is great after the catch. He's doing everything in that Titans offense. So if you don't have them and they're available, of course, go pick them up. If you're gonna have to wait till obviously next week, but put those waiver claims in now, because you might catch somebody slipping. You might catch someone who forgot it was Thursday Night Football. Maybe they get all caught up in the Sunday Night Football. They forget what happened on Thursday Night Football. They forget that this guy's even available. They forgot to look for him. This is your chance to try to get a kind of a step on them. But yeah, it may come down for you to waiver priority or how much you bid. I'm saying bid a lot on these guys. You're looking for guys who are going to explode for you. Hopefully, create these big games for the fantasy playoffs that you're heading towards. Because again, if you're listening right now, I got to assume you're in the mix. And if you're in Dynasty, these are guys I would say trade for if you can. Obviously, now you're going to hurt yourself a little bit because they both have big weeks, and now you're paying the higher amount. But these are the kind of guys that rookies coming into the season that were like highly touted, and then they start off kind of disappointing because of injury or the offense just hasn't required it yet and called for it. Those are the kind of guys you want to try to buy as you get to a week 9, week 8, and they really haven't played well. You try to buy them on the low. Now it's week 10, 11. These wide receivers are getting, acclimated to the offense. They're getting more familiar with the offense. They're getting healthy. They're finally caught up to the NFL game, and now they're taking off, and you're paying top dollar again for them. So again, Trayvon Burks, Christian Watson, if they're available in your leagues, definitely go get them. You got the Rams wide receivers available, of course, if they are, following the Kupp injury. At this point, you grab some of them and you see which one sticks. I'm not saying grab multiple Rams wide receivers for one team. I'm just saying you could try the different guys that are out there. They're all worth, picking up and seeing, whether it's Van Jefferson, whether it's Robinson. But I also like here in this situation, because of the Kupp injury, this offense looking to other places, not just necessarily wide receivers, to get the ball around more. So there's other players in this offense that are all worth looking at this point. If you've been sleeping on guys like Kyren Williams, again, another potential, guy who will pick up targets or pick up some work in the offense because of the loss for Kupp. It's just hard to make up for that. And don't go into this and be like, oh, well, Kupp's out, so certainly one of the wide receivers are just going to fill that that workload and put up those numbers. It's not going to happen. No one in this offense is going to perform like Kupp. No one is going to do what Kupp does. No one is going to give you that kind of production. So anyone you pick up is basically a flex play at best, and you're hoping to see that they do good enough to warrant that. But no one in this offense, disclaimer, no one in this offense is going to put up Kupp numbers for you. So don't even press yourself over it. I do believe in Paris Campbell. I'd add him over the Rams wide receivers. I think the Matt Ryan thing, being the quarterback again, it helps him a lot. He's healthy and he's being productive while healthy. It's what we've all been waiting for. When you're a Campbell supporter, you kept waiting every year for him to break out. And every year was like, well, injured, health. And here you are, he's healthy and he's producing pretty well. So believe in it, buy it. It's a good thing. So I would actually pick up someone like him over the Ram situation. So if you lose a Kupp, I like Paris Campbell pickup. I also like a Donovan Peoples-Jones pickup. If you're one of those guys who lost Kupp, one of those fantasy managers who lost Kupp. Watson will be returning in a couple of weeks, but he's played well with Brissett at QB even. Adam Watson back into the mix should open things up for everybody in this offense. So he's a really good option as a bye week or injury replacement for a league manager who lost someone like Kupp for sure. So if you're seeing guys like Donovan Peoples-Jones, Paris Campbell, these kind of guys available, definitely go scoop them up if you're dealing with those kind of injuries. Let's move over to tight end. Foster Moreau is my tight end pickup if you're in a bad spot and you really need a tight end. My thing for this is I'm a Raiders fan. I'm not being biased. I'm being honest. I'm being realistic. He's a decent pickup. He's not Waller. but Waller's out for a while. He can't fill Waller's shoes, so you're never going to get this, crazy explosive game from him. Typically, I wouldn't assume it just because there's other guys in this offense that are going to get more of that focal point, but he has been targeted decently in the red zone by Carr. So he only needs a couple receptions, 40 yards, and a touchdown to make you happy. That's how I look at it. That's how I look at the whole Foster Moreau situation, or any tight end for that matter. If you can get, 4 receptions or 5 receptions, 40, 50 yards, and a touchdown out of a tight end, I feel like you're gold for that week as long as everybody else is, doing their job. He's playing Denver this week. It's a good play. So if you're in a bad spot, Foster Moreau. The other guy I kind of like a lot, I might even like him more, honestly, at this point, is Cole Kmet. As Fields continues to get this offense going from a passing perspective, Fields is so much fun. I had to pause for that. Just when I say Justin Fields, I start seeing the plays in my head that he's out here doing and running all over the field and scoring touchdowns. And I had to take a moment of respect for Justin Fields for 1 second. But yeah, Cole Kmet, more productive since Fields been, productive throwing the ball. This guy has just come to life. He's come to life. So if you're someone who's been banking on the whole Komet thing and you're a real believer in him, especially people who have had him like in dynasty and stuff, you're excited right now. But again, if you need a tight end, he's a great option. I know some people who like to stream tight ends even throughout the whole season. Again, great guy. The last 2 weeks, those numbers have been crazy. Now, I do want to say, don't go into every week with Komet thinking like, hey, I'm going to get 20 something points from him. He's going crazy. He's the next great thing. But even if he comes down to more respectable numbers, he's still a great tight end rest of the season for you. Who knows how this is going to go? Is there a chance that Fields doesn't stay hot? Sure, it's possible. It's possible with a quarterback like this because again, he does get a lot of it done with his legs, so it's easy to revert back to simply just being this explosive running type quarterback, throwing just enough to get, 1 touchdown, no interceptions, 150, 200 yards. But I believe in the Justin Fields thing. I believe in it. I don't know how you could be a denier that this guy is going to be legit. It kind of does remind you of the, whole Jalen Hurts situation, how people doubted him. And here he is being one of the best quarterbacks in the league. Uh, Again, I wasn't a doubter of Jalen Hurts. I love Jalen Hurts going into the seasons, even his rookie season. I felt he was a really good quarterback, leader of men. I like that kind of stuff. And that running thing with quarterbacks, you got to love the upside. So Justin Fields makes me feel really good about Cole Kmet. When you have a quarterback like that, it's hard for me to hate certain guys on the offense. It just is. It's just tough. So Foster Moreau, Cole Kmet, my waiver tight end type streamers of the week. If you need to go into that bag. Let's talk about a couple of players that you might catch them slipping on. Let's go. First one, Marquise Brown. Back from injury, potentially back on Monday Night Football. Don't bank on it, but you definitely got to get him in your lineup. If the Marquise Brown manager had him and didn't IR him, if you don't have an IR spot in your leagues, they may have just dropped him. They may have gotten in a bad enough spot. And a lot of people might think, like, why would Marquise Brown be available? But there are teams, league managers who just dump these guys as soon as they get hurt, or they get in a jam where the injuries start piling up. Like, imagine if you had Marquise Brown, Jamar Chase, Cooper Kupp, this kind of thing. You might have gotten a jam and got desperate and just dropped a Marquise Brown. So if he's available, pick him up now. He may play Monday Night Football. I know Kyler Murray's hurt, might not play either. It's Colt McCoy. Screw it. Still play Marquise Brown if he's available. Get him in your lineup. If Marquise Brown's healthy, I'm putting him on my lineup. Another guy, Deshaun Watson. I've been talking about it for weeks at this point. If you haven't gotten him yet, get him. I know it's week 13 that he comes back, but it's against Houston. It should be crazy, major motivation from Houston, from Watson's standpoint. Imagine this: like, you were suspended, you're coming back finally in week 13. You're on a new team. You're playing your former team. Like, it's just all the drama and controversy and narrative that you could want in a player in a game. And so even if Watson doesn't crush it, that should be a fun one to have, a part of your fantasy game. So I do like Deshaun Watson as my last catch 'em sleeping of the week. I've been talking about it for weeks at this point. So if you have not added him yet and he's still available, at this point, you're sleeping at the wheel. And I respect it. Wake up. Marquise Brown, Deshaun Watson, the catch 'em sleeping players of the week for waivers. All right, guys, that's it for my week 11 waivers that I feel you need to make sure you acquire, you get them on your team, stash some of these guys. Some of these guys you need to get into your flex and start right away. If you have questions about any of these guys or other players that you're kind of considering last minute, Sunday morning, 12 a.m. before the games kick off. Leave them in the comments. I answer all the YouTube comments you have. I'm not going to let you just ask questions and not respond. So whether it's trades, waivers, start sits, whatever questions you have, drop them in the YouTube comments. I will get to you as soon as possible and hopefully before your game kicks off. That's my goal. If the YouTube comments, if you're not watching on YouTube and you're listening on the podcast apps, drop them on social media at Rival Fantasy on all social platforms, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, all those good things. I'll get to you there as well. If you follow us on those platforms, just let me know. Hey, Neil, I listened to the show. Quick question. And that way I don't miss the question. It's easier. I give priority to those who are subscribed, whether it's on YouTube or Apple or Spotify or wherever you're watching or listening at. So once I know you're subscribed, you're going to get priority. It's just the way it is. I got to find a way to dole out the load. And so if you're subscribed, if you're hitting like, if you're sharing the show, it's just easier for me to find those people. They stick out. And so I get to your questions quicker and for sure, before you need it. So let's do that. If you, like I said, make sure you hit subscribe, make sure you hit like. Those things are major for, as you guys know, YouTube, the algorithm, all this good stuff. It's important for us. So please do that. And then, of course, go to rivalfantasy.com, sign up, create an account, make a deposit. We got you at 100% insurance on your first plays up to $50. We will refund you up to $50 of your first loss. So get in there, get active on there. We got challenges, we got bingo, we have fantasy book coming back next year, season long fantasy, all kinds of stuff. So don't wait to get in the action. Get in there now. It's another way to play, to have fun while you're watching the games. It's a lot of fun. So check it out. Again, if you have any questions, drop them in the comments below. Hit subscribe, hit like. I love you guys. I appreciate you. Catch you next week.